Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Now looking at the calendar, thanks to the Ohio soybean farmers, Grow Next Gen offers free STEM resources and links students to cutting-edge ag careers. Discover more at grownextgen.org. Then make sure you tune in for our next monthly check-in at Farm Credit Mid-America. That will be on Thursday, the 17th. Well, yesterday, the USDA Weekly Crop Progress Report came out. Let's take a look at those numbers. Coverage of the Ohio Crop Progress Report is sponsored by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88 and discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. Starting with the national numbers, 4% of the corn was planted nationwide as of Sunday, 2 points behind the 6% last year and 1 point behind the 5-year average of 5%. As we look to soybeans, 2% of the soybeans were planted as of Sunday, 1 point behind last year at this time, but equal to the 5-year average. As for winter wheat, the crop condition, an estimated 47% of the winter wheat was rated good to excellent as of April 13th, down 1 point from 48% the previous week. And for the crop development, 8% of the winter wheat was headed nationwide as of Sunday. That is 2 percentage points behind last year's 10%, but equal to the 5-year average. Then looking to spring wheat, 7% of the crop was planted nationwide as of April 13th, 1 point ahead of last year's 6%, but equal to the 5-year average. Now looking at your numbers from the Buckeye State, topsoil moisture condition is at 45% adequate and 55% is in surplus. Winter wheat joining this week is at 12%. That's 10 points ahead of last week, but is 34 points behind last year and 14 points behind the 5-year average. As for the winter wheat condition, 35% is in fair condition, 49% is in good condition, and 10% is excellent. Now for today's weather, which is brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Cold air dominating over Ohio today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at that Ohio Ag weather update for your Tuesday. We are cloudy and we are chilly, but we don't see exceptionally well organized precipitation. I won't rule out some spits and sprinkles. And again, a lot of clouds here in the cold air, but not much else. Tomorrow we are still chilly, but we see better sunshine potential, so I think not quite as cold as today. We're waiting to see our full-on temperature move, getting some south flow in here for Thursday. That's ahead of our next weather system that tries to show up Friday and Saturday. It's not an initial push right away, so I think for Friday and Saturday morning, the best chance of any moisture at all is going to be in far northwest Ohio. The rest of the state may stay dry, but then as you go through Saturday afternoon, evening, and into very early Easter Sunday morning, we can see some hit-and-miss scattered showers, about 60% coverage, anywhere from 1/10 to 3/4 of an inch. We then take a break for Easter Sunday as moisture regroups farther to our west. I think most of Easter Sunday is dry here. Then as we move through Monday the 21st into Tuesday the 22nd, early Tuesday the 22nd, we're probably looking at another 1/4 to 1 inch of precipitation with coverage at 100% of the state. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Nearly 90% of farmers say that financial worries, constantly changing market conditions, and other uncontrollable variables take a toll on their mental well-being. Add in the weather and family dynamics, well, it's a lot to handle alone. But did you know farmers and their families can receive free confidential services from licensed professionals? Support is available 24/7 to help with the challenges you face. Look for Farm Family Wellness Alliance under the Resources tab at farmfoundation.org. Take care of yourself. Your well-being matters.
Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org.
You're tuning in on the Ohio AgNet. Let's check in with Joel Panorwood as he has an update on this week's podcast.
We've got a great episode of the Ohio AgNet podcast this week. It is show season in the livestock world, and we're joined by Roger High of the Ohio Sheep Improvement Association, also a show judge himself with some notable experience under his belt. He joined several members of our team as we talk the differences and similarities between commercial and show livestock. Here's a clip.
Everybody wants to make this thing equal. You know, I can give everybody $1,000 and say, that's it. You got $1,000 to go buy your pig.
That'll hardly buy a pig nowadays.
No, I know. Yeah. Or anything. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you and that's all you can spend. Mm-hmm. And everybody can go spend their $1,000, and the same person will still win the fair generally because they've nutrition, health, management will win it for them.
Two standards between commercial and show. It's a topic with many opinions, and we dive into a few of them in this episode. Tune in to the Ohio AgNet podcast, available now at ohioagnet.com and anywhere podcasts are heard. I'm Joel Norwood reporting.
Thanks, Joel, for the update. Well, thousands of workers have accepted the Trump administration's buyout offers at the USDA. E&E News says that employees who have seen the internal numbers at the USDA say the count has reached 3,100 at the Forest Service, 1,200 at the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, and possibly up to 12,000 people through the entire agency. That's over 10% of the department's 100,000 employees. The buyouts are deferred resignations with paid leave through September and are said to be preludes to firings expected to hit the USDA in the weeks ahead. An employee at the National Resource Conservation Service who took the buyout offer says the numbers are subject to change if workers clicked on the offer but do not sign the resignation agreement. Another report says that the USDA is planning to relocate a sizable number of employees that it doesn't lay off to one of 3 locations around the country. Well, in a sudden about-face, President Trump says he will lower the tariffs he imposed on dozens of countries for 90 days. U.S. Representative Dan Newhouse was asked if he thought the president's delay was a good idea.
I can tell you that it is, in my estimation, a smart thing to do, pausing the tariffs so that countries can negotiate with us so that we can get the best trade deal possible for our country and for our customers or our trading partners. I think it's a good thing.
The timing is probably a good thing for many of our farmers.
I know there are a lot of people at home that are raising a lot of concerns, and justifiably so. You know, we will have agricultural crops being harvested before you know it, and we need to have those markets available. So having a 90-day pause gives us that opportunity to get some of that important work done before we start harvesting.
Newhouse says he appreciates the president's objective, but now time is of the essence.
90 days goes by pretty quickly. Hopefully we can get that work done, the bargaining table. I think we really need to get our trade representatives buckled in for getting a lot of good work done in that very short time.
However, the president kept the pressure on China, the number 2 provider of U.S. imports, raising tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%. Well, the Farm Credit System says that the United States economy entered 2025 with key indicators in favorable positions. Expectations for the first quarter growth have been reduced, however, by weaker personal consumption, higher imports, and uncertainty around changes in global trade. The Farm Credit System says that the United States farm sector enters uncertain trade environment and spring planting season with strong balance sheets and favorable liquidity. Farm income in early 2025 is being supported by payments to crop producers authorized under the American Relief Act, as well as generally favorable returns for livestock producers. But extended periods of lower commodity prices, particularly for cash grains and tree nuts, are evidence of increasing risk. Negative retaliatory tariffs on United States agriculture products will depend on tariff levels and duration and present additional uncertainty for the sector. Farmland values are showing signs of weakness and increased volatility, especially for lower quality land and in regions producing the commodities currently at weaker prices. Well, the World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Mark Jeganowski discusses month-over-month adjustments for the USDA's world and domestic corn balance sheets for April.
Globally, the changes are small this month. A little bit of increase in the EU's forecast for corn production just based on recent data they released. Small reduction in Moldova corn production. Global feed use was reduced about 1.8 million tons, mainly reflecting higher feed use in the EU, partially offset by lower feed use in the US and Moldova. And then we made some changes to global trade, dominated by the change we made in the US balance sheet. Overall, US corn exports remain very competitive. Competitive US prices are keeping export volumes strong. And reflecting that in the U.S. supply and demand balance sheet this month, we raised our export forecast by 100 million bushels. So now we're at 2.55 billion bushels of exports. That would be up just about 260 million bushels year over year. And then we also incorporated data from the March 1 grain stocks report. Based on that, we reduced our feed and residual use by 25 million bushels. We reduced ending stocks by 75 million bushels, and we didn't make any change to our season average market price, which remains at $4.35 per bushel.
Again, that was Mark Chikanowski, World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio is your Medicaid plan for more benefits, more rewards. We know that good health means more than just seeing a doctor when you're sick. Eligible members can receive extras like home-delivered meals and family essentials, like baby carriers and kids' school supplies. Members can even earn rewards for playing mobile health trivia games. Learn more at AmeriHealthCaritasOH.com and call the Ohio Medicaid Consumer Hotline at 1-800-324-8680 to choose AmeriHealth Caritas Ohio.
Soybeans are a game changer for Ohio's pork industry. Pigs thrive on soybeans' perfect blend of protein and energy, helping hogs nationwide devour the equivalent of 292 million bushels of soybean meal annually. Ohio is number 7 in pork production, contributing to the billions of pounds of pork enjoyed by families across the nation each year. From sizzling bacon to barbecued ribs, soybeans power the farms that feed families. Brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their check hog.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets yesterday finished on a mostly lower note. The only green that we saw on any screen came in the new crop soybean futures. We did see November futures up about 3 cents there, and January and March of next year up about 2 to 2.5 cents. Corn lower, wheat lower, double-digit losses in the Kansas City complex. What was the marketplace talking about yesterday? Well, we started off with a little bit of friendly activity in corn and beans, but then we saw some bear spreading come in, and that really tried to, upset the apple cart just a little bit. We had unwinding of July-December corn spreads and July-November soybean spreads. Also, a collapse in board crush margins. Now, soy products have fallen to sharp losses. The bean futures were up, but bean oil fell apart. Remember, most of the bean oil trade here recently centered around RVOs and other stories that could come on the fueling side of things, and those have not panned out just yet. We're also looking at demand waiting in the lurch because tariff expectations and tariff negotiations are still ongoing. We also have a holiday shortened week this week, Good Friday holiday coming in this week, and so most of the trade has to get all of this nonsense worked out in the next 3 days. We're also looking at a lack of significant activity on the export side. There was a flash sale reported yesterday, 120,000 metric tons of corn going to Japan for the 24-25 crop year. Outside of that, trade agreements we heard yesterday could be delayed to the end of the year. The dollar import pledges for 2026. India is aiming to boost its U.S. imports by about $500 billion in 2030. India can import U.S. wheat, but it prohibits the importation of GMO corn or soybeans, so it's going to be kind of muted there what they can actually do. The other story that is going to be talked about through the day today is the planting progress or fieldwork progress. There is some happening here over the past week farther west. I'm hearing Iowa and parts of the plains getting after it, but locally we're just not seeing much happen at all. Conditions aren't quite right yet. Weather may make that difficult into next week. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Let's start off with May corn, 485 3/4, up 3/4. December new crop corn, 461 3/4, down 1/4. May soybeans, 1037.5, down 4 1/4. November soybeans, 1026, down 2 1/2. January soybeans, 1037.5, down 2 1/2. July wheat, 560 3/4, down a penny. September wheat, 575.5, down a penny. In livestock from yesterday's close, April live cattle 203.95, up $1.47. June live cattle 199.07, up $2.27. April lean hogs 85.47, up a nickel. May lean hogs 87.95, up $1.37. May feeder cattle 280.95, up $2.25. August feeder cattle 286.15, up $2.47. And May class 3 milk 17.65, up a penny. For the latest agricultural news, you can find that at ohioagnet.com. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.